Welcome to the lecture on stock valuation. So, in this lecture we are going to continue from where we left in the previous lecture, and we will discuss about the stock valuation procedure. So, in that we had seen we were discussing that how we get the current price of the stock, and we had seen that P naught, we got these derivations that P naught. So, the current price of the stock. So, it will be summation, and that will be T equal to 1 to K. So, in that you had the dt and divided by 1 plus r raised to the power t, and then there will be a separate term that is for the Pk. So, that Pk by 1 plus r raised to the power k. So, that is what was there. So, dt are the dividends, and that will be in the year 1, 2, 3 or so. So, that dividend which you are getting, and basically you are getting its present worth values. So, that is what you see, that d1 by 1 plus r raised to the power 1. So, d1 will be dividend in the first year, and that will be divided by 1 plus r. So, it will be its present value equivalent today. Then d2, if it is the dividend in the second year, then that will be divided by 1 plus r raised to the power 2. So, that way MCR is there. So, r, that is market capitalization rate or rate of interest. So, based on that, this term will be this, and then in the end you are getting this Pk, and it will be divided by 1 plus r raised to the power k, because you are getting the value in that kth period, after that kth period. So, that is divided by 1 plus r raised to the power k. So, that is how you get, and from this you can say that the current price of a stock is actually equal to the sum of all discounted dividends for a number of future years defined by the period k. So, that is what we have seen, that in this case this is the this is a dividend that is for the k period. So, we are talking about this only, and then further, and also you are taking that price also, that price is also made equivalent for the today's time. So, that is divided by 1 plus r raised to the power k. So, Pk is divided. So, that is that term is basically added. Now, what is further written, or what we can further understand is that in this case, as k will continue to increase and k will approach towards infinity, in that case the last price will be certainly approaching 0. So, in this expression, if the k is approaching towards infinity, then in that case this term will be basically equal to 0. So, we can write that this P naught, the P naught, as the k will be approaching to 0, then it will be summation of t equal to 1 to infinity, and it will be dt upon 1 plus r raised to the power t. So, and then since k is approaching towards infinity, so this term will be vanishing, and you will be getting this P naught as the dt upon 1 plus r raised to the power t summation t equal to 1 to infinity. So, that is what further it is written, that the value of the last price will be approaching towards 0. So, this will be approaching towards 0, and you are getting the P naught as this. Now, what we say, that if the dividend amount is assumed to be same for all the years when it is paid. Now, in that case we can write. So, if it is only d1 for all the years, it is not varying. So, in that case, and there is no growth of the dividend. So, basically dividend may change, there may be growth in the dividend or there may not be growth in the dividend. So, if the dividend remains same, in that case you will write P naught or P0 will be summation, and then this d1, since being constant, it will come out, and it will be t equal to 1 to infinity and 1 by 1 plus r raised to the power t. So, this is nothing but a factor, and we know that this factor basically it is nothing but a summation of this is nothing but you have you are getting the present value from the future value. So, that factor is there, and that factor being summed up, it will give you this summation of 1 by 1 plus r raised to the power t. And if you you should try to see the further, if you are getting this is basically a geometrically infinite series. So, you can get its value, and it will be 1 by r. So, basically you can write P naught will be d1 by r. So, that is how you can get the expression for P naught as the t is basically approaching towards this infinity. So, that is how you calculate the P naught values under such circumstances. Now, you can say that if you try to see you can solve through certain examples. Suppose that a person is there. So, a stock company is there, and a company basically it is paying. So, it will be paying rupees 14.95 dividend per share, and expected it is expected to be constant indefinitely. So, you are going to get the this dividend for a very large time. Now, in that case value of stock will be what? You have to find the value of stock if the required return is 11.5%. Suppose in such cases when you are going to get this return of 11.5%, in that case you have to find these values. So, in those cases simply you have to say that you get this P naught, and this P naught will be d1 by r. So, dividend is fixed, that is 14.95, and it will be divided by r. So, it will be 0.14. So, 1 it is 115. So, it is 11.5%. So, if you try to see, it will be something like rupees 130. So, this is how you can find the current price of the stock, and that can be calculated. Now, the situation is that many a times these dividends are not constant, they grow. As we had discussed, also we had given you the light even in the last lecture, that when you have the dividend not being constant, it is basically increasing by certain amount or at certain rate. In those cases you have to do the adjustment in this formula. So, that is what it is, that if the dividend grows in a constant rate such as g. So, g is the constant rate at which the dividend is growing. In that case, the current value of the common stock would have to be adjusted. So, that way you have the change in the formula, and in that case, so when dividend grows at a rate g. So, every year it is growing at the rate of g. So, what happens that you will have the expression, that is you will write P naught. So, your what will happen that that will be adjusted by d plus dg. So, every time it will be d into 1 plus g. So, g is the growth rate. So, P naught in the earlier case, with respect to the earlier case, it will be going like d1 into 1 plus g divided by 1 plus r. Then you have you can write 1 plus g square upon 1 plus r square. So this will be going to dk 1 plus g then k and divided by 1 plus r raised to the power k. Now in this case, if again the dividend remains the same, so we get this p naught value as d1 upon r minus g, because so in this case what we assume that the r is basically more than g. So the interest rate of interest which is applied or market capitalization rate, it is basically more than the growth rate of the dividend, and this formula basically is known as the Gordon's formula, and this formula is utilized for finding these current price in terms of D1. Now what happens, as we discussed, that now this D1 basically this will be nothing but D naught plus D naught g. So it will be D naught into 1 plus g. So you can further do the modification in this formula, and you can write in such cases you can write the p naught as, so this will be D naught into 1 plus g and plus and then that divided by r minus g. So this way you get, so that when you know the growth rate at which this dividends will be increasing, in those cases you are using this formula to find the price of the stock. Now you can further take one example, and we can see that how such cases are represented and how you solve when you face such problems. Suppose you have an investor and he is willing to get a 12% yield. So an investor is willing to get a 12% yield from a stock whose estimated growth is 18%. Now suppose not 18%, it is 8%, it is not more than that. That case will be different when the growth rate is more than the interest rate. So it is only 8% in this case. Now suppose suppose that the firm selling the stock has it has distributed 60% of its earnings as dividends. So 60% of its earning will be given as dividend, and earning per share is rupees 3.20. So in that case, and selling the stock for rupees 40 per share. So in that case you have to find the value of stock and also expected rate of return. So this way there may be situations, so how to handle that. Now in this case what you see that you have dividend as 60% of the earning, and earning per share is rupees 3.20. So in that case if you find the D naught, it will be 60%, so it will be 0.6 times 3.20. So that will be your 1.92. So that will be your, so earning per share is 3.20 and 60% is earning as dividend, so it will be 1.92 rupees. Now you have to find the price of this stock. So, value of the stock. So, that will be again P naught, and P naught will be again we know D naught. So, we know D naught into 1 plus G by R minus G. So, R we know it is given that R is it is 12% and G is 8%, so 0.08. So, you will put in this formula, it will be 1.92 times 1 plus G. So, it will be 1.08 divided by R minus G. So, it will be 0.04. So, that will be your value. Now, if you get that, you will be getting rupees 51.84. So, this will be the current price of the stock. Now, if you want to find the expected rate of return, so expected rate of return will be nothing but this will be D by P naught and then plus G. So, that you can get from the formula. So, that formula we have already written. So, from here you can get this R. So, expected rate of return will be this will be coming like this. So, it will be D 1 by P naught plus G. So, so you can get that. So, it will be 1.92 divided by 40 and then plus G. So, it is 0.8. So, that will come out to be something like 12.8%. So, this is we are basically using for finding this expected rate of return in such cases, and also finding the the current value of the stock when the dividend is growing at certain rate. We can also find the G value basically, and that also can be found if your future value and current value is given. In that case also future value and current value, based on that the formula cubic nth root of future value by current value minus 1, that will give you the G value. So, that also can be calculated if that is required in such in some of the cases. Now, there is another way to this to find this G, and that is your return to equity method. So, there are many methods by which you can this calculate all these values, and you can find these value of a stock, then either value of a stock is required, or maybe sometimes the maturity time is required, or maybe sometimes the growth is required, or the rate of interest is required. So, so that way using the formula you can find it. Now, one thing more which is required to be understood in many circumstances will be your cost of new issues of the common stock. So, what we see that when we talk about new issues of the common stock, now in these cases you have some market capitalization rate formula, and that basically has to have certain consideration, and among the considerations you have one of the consideration is that the underpriced stock. So, underpriced stock we know that it is sold at price below its current price. So, so whatever will its it has to be sold at its below its current price. Now, in that case because it is necessary for the firm to to sell that stocks for issuing the new stocks. So, in those cases the amount of underpricing which we calculate, that is to be understood. So, what will be the amount of underpricing? So, the underpricing, so for undervalued stock, underpriced stock. So, what happens that you will have the amount of underpricing. So, underpricing amount, underpricing means its value will be less than its price. So, that will be difference between P naught and new price Pn. So, it will be that is represented by P naught minus Pn. Now, there is another cost which is also involved, that is your flotation cost. So, this flotation cost basically it is the cost of issuing and selling the new stock. So, this will be cost of issuing and selling the new stock. Now, what happens that in such cases because there will be cost associated with the issue and also the selling of the new cost. So, that will be known as the flotation cost. Now, both these items they are to be subtracted to find the stock price. So, after subtracting both these quantities, what you get is known as the net proceed. So, the net proceed will be, so when both items are subtracted, from stock price, we get net proceed. So, that is known as NU. So, this is because of the underpricing, and the net proceed NU will be so that is NN. So, that is net proceed NN, and certainly, and then it will be replacing the P naught. So, this will replace so P naught. So, this is P naught because you have subtracted the underpricing amount as well as the flotation cost, and these both the things are subtracted, and then so you are using in place of P naught you are using the NN. So, your Rn, that is the for new formula for finding the cost of the new stock. So, that will be D by Nn and then plus G. So, this way you can find the value of the stock when you have these cases of underpricing, and in such cases you have to first find this Nn. So, for example, suppose you have a new issue of stock, and in the previous example what we have seen, in that example where you had the price of you got this the firm basically will be deciding that it will underprice it by rupees 1.55. So, there is a common stock. So, we will discuss the problem. Now, the problem is that a common stock is there and it is selling for the 35 per share, and in that case what happens that you have the expected dividend is rupees 1.15 per share, and earning per share also is given as 2.30. So, let us see that the question tells that your P naught is given as 55 rupees, and then you have it is assumed that it will be underpriced by 1.55. So, your underpricing will be 1.55, and the FC, that is flotation cost, what has been taken is at the 0.75 per share. So, FC we can write as 0.75. Now, in this case the dividend which you are getting, it is written as D1 as 4.30, and the growth rate is also given as suppose 0.08. Now, in such cases if you have to find the NN and also the the RN basically for the case of the underpricing, and this is N basically indicates for the new stock. So, you can simply find the NN as, so you will be subtracting this 55 with the value of the degree of underpricing, that is 1.55, and then we will also be doing that for with we have to add into this the flotation cost. So, it will be 2.30. So, it will be coming as 52.70 rupees. So, that is your the value which is basically the net proceed, that is 52.70, and if you have to find the the rate. So, for this new stock, so Rn basically will be D by Nn plus G. So, as we know that dividend is 4.30, and then this will be divided by Nn. So, Nn is 52.70, and then plus G is given as 0.08. So, you are telling that this growth is at the rate of 8%. So, in those cases your value that becomes 16.2%. So, this is how you are basically using these formulas, and when you have to find that you have to the cost of the new stock and you have to go for underpricing, and since you have to pay these flotation charges because of the because of you have to sell these stocks. So, that also is to be subtracted, and you are getting that value issue of the cost of the new stock, and then the rate of the return. Now, cost of this new stock will be basically greater than the cost of the current stock, because the dividing this dividend by the new net proceeds. So, that is how this you see that you are getting these new net proceeds. So, it is less than the net price. So, the current price of the cost if you find by the formula this P naught. Now, so this is something about the finding the price, current price in the case of the new issues. Now, what happens that many a times we also are required to know that what will be the stock value when you have two stage growth. So, many a times you have the staged growth, you have growth rate will be going to certain value, and also the growth rate may change also. So, that become more than R. So, in those cases how these current prices are required to be calculated, they also need to be understood. So, that is done by another formula, and in those cases, because when the growth rate becomes quite high and that exceeds the rate of return, that R. So, when G becomes R, in those cases there will be negative value R minus G. So, in those cases using the formula, basically that formula does not remain valid. So, in such cases you have to find these pricing, or you have to find the current price using the stage in a stage wise. So, that is known as the stage dividend, two stage dividend growth. So there are formulas, and that we will discuss maybe, and also we can discuss about the other cost valuation methods in our next lecture. Thank you very much.